Hi, and welcome to episode 69. Brian Danielson. So, anyway, today, what I have going on is going to be an over the phone interview with a tennis historian. Bea, she is actually kind of the in tennis historian of the West Side Tennis Club in Forest Hills, New York, which used to be the original site of the US Open Tennis before they moved over to Flushing Meadow, New York. So, with this, let's get into the interview and, take it from there.
Thank you for joining me here on Tennis Volley Talk with Brian Danielson, episode 69. Oh my gosh, I'm in my second year, 69 episodes. Well, today I do have, and I'm doing an over the phone interview here with somebody that has a rich history knowledge of the West Side Tennis Club in Forest Hills, New York. Bea Hunt. Bea, welcome to the tennis podcast today. Thank you. So, yeah, you're kind of more of the historian behind all the West Side Tennis Club and everything like that. In kind of like, have you always been a New York girl all your life, or had you moved with your parents from somewhere else to New York at one time?
Well, I was born in New York, but my dad is from the Midwest, and as I mentioned before, he graduated high school in Minneapolis, where you are.
Oh, wow.
But he lived all over the Midwest and went to college in Iowa. My mother is from Columbia, South America.
Oh, wow.
And they both up in New York City, and they were working here when they were young adults. They met and got married, so I was born in New York City.
Uh-huh.
And most of my life, since I was 5 years old, I lived in Flushing, not Forest Hills, but about 20 minutes away in Flushing.
Yeah.
And then I joined the West Side Tennis Club in 1971.
Oh, okay.
So that'd be 53 years ago. My dad joined in 1970, and my sister and I joined the following year.
The following year. Oh my gosh. So, had you always been in or enjoyed tennis, or kind of a
favorite sport? He also did ice skating in the winter.
Okay.
True person from Minneapolis. But we would play tennis in Casino Park in Flushing, and then when we had the opportunity to join the West Side Tennis Club, he jumped at it. He used to play 7 days a week, and so he taught us there, and we had instructors there. We traveled. And was in Louisiana at the time during the summer, so we grew up playing tennis. Club players, not college competition or anything.
Oh, sure, absolutely.
Yeah, with something like that, with playing like you had the chance to play like that, always to grow up playing tennis with all different kinds of people all over the place like that. And then plus her dad playing 7 days, his favorite sport too. So that's really cool in itself to then have her join when she did the West Side Tennis Club after her dad had joined.
And with that, I mean, how, with doing that, and then growing up through those years and playing tennis like you did, and then going to Columbia University and getting a civil engineering, specializing in transportation hydraulics. Boy, you can fix trucks and the hydraulics there, couldn't you?
No, we're worried about the water under the bridges.
Yeah, water. Yeah, and then in essence, and then you had that job for many years, I'm sure. But how did that transpire with you to then go from like that specialty to being a historian of the West Side Tennis Club?
Well, they're kind when they call me their historian. Well, I'm a member there for 53 years. On the 50th year, I became an honorary. And I've always volunteered for the membership committee. I've been on the board several times. And so I volunteered family genealogy over the years. My dad and my brother actually made history at the undergraduate level, so kind of in my veins. But I just volunteered and started running the archives with some other a group there, and it just got a life going. I am still working as a civil engineer. I just do this up on the side.
Oh, okay.
We have a lot of visitors to the club, and they always ask me questions. Sometimes I can answer them, sometimes I can't. But we do a lot of research, and so we're just growing and bringing back our history.
Which is really nice with bringing back the history of the club and being able to get into that kind of a position to be learning all about the club and being able to talk to the people and greeting them and answering their questions on tennis and everything, which would really be nice. I would probably thrive in that kind of a position myself, doing that. That'd be fun for me because I've been playing as long as I have, 50 plus years. So that would be a fun thing to do.
It's been 12 years that I've been working on it, and some pretty exciting things have happened.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so amazing. And with myself, like you said, you joined the club in '71. Now, give you an idea, in '71 I was a junior in high school, about the time you were probably in that era. And I was a junior in high school hitting on white cement courts with chain link nets, playing the old guys at the tennis court, which was my growing up in tennis years and learning tennis, which was really fun to do. But that's kind of where I was in that era of '71 playing, and then plus watching whenever you could, whenever they had the wide world of sports, and hey, we got the Wimbledon, finals on, or the U.S. Open on, or whatever. Hardly ever. They didn't really show too much of the French on regular TV back then either, or Australian either. But it's the time stuff back then, I guess. But that's kind of where I grew up, and that's kind of where I was in my career in '71 when you were joining the club there and stuff. So
yeah, I was in high school, and the U.S. Open, the Nationals were at Forest Hills from 1915, and then in 1968 became the U.S. Open. And so when I joined, it was there. The courts were, as they are today, we've changed a little bit, but there were hard shoe courts, red clay, decoturf, and then the grass courts for the U.S. Open. We had about 23 grass courts at the time.
oh my gosh.
And so as a member, you could play on all of them. During the U.S. Open, we volunteered for the U.S. Open. And at the beginning, I got a job as a where we had information booths in the U.S. Open under the stadium.
Oh, sure.
In a little tented area that was air conditioned. And so, but here I would get a pass, and then when I wasn't working, I could go watch all the matches. It was a lot of fun.
That must have been just a joy to watch with all of a chance to see over the years. That is amazing in itself to actually have had that experience, to be able to do that at that age then too, growing up. But with that too, with the history of that, started like, but it had several lives all over the place in New York at the time, though. Starting back then, and opening up the clay courts like they first there in by Central Park and everything too. But of course now Central Park has its own tennis courts there if you want to go play it out too.
That's right. Yeah, back then Central Park had over 125 courts. They put up nets and play, but there were always long lines to get in. So in 1892, 13 young people that played in Central Park decided they wanted to have a club of their own, and they organized it on April 22nd, 1892. And there were actually 7 women and 6 men.
Oh my gosh!
But it was a men's club.
Well, at least the women outnumbered the men back then to get the club going, which was really kind of a opportunity to have their club in a sense. And it was they set out with 2 clay courts, and it was also to enhance it, had a $10 initiation fee, 1892, and then it was also then a $10 annual fee to belong to the club too. Then, so that was interesting in itself, with the cost of all of that. So that's just kind of the little bit of the history of how it all began there at that time.
Would play tennis, and they had championships and everything, but they weren't allowed to be on the board of directors.
Oh my goodness!
Until the 1970s, actually.
Of course, yeah.
But the 2 dirt courts turned to eventually 5 courts, and in 10 years later, the people that owned the land was leased, and the people that owned the land wanted it to build an apartment house there, and so we leased land from a lady, from Mrs. John Drexel out of Philadelphia, and it was across the street from what was then Columbia University. And St. John the Divine was being constructed about 10 blocks down the road, so we were at 117th Street between Amsterdam and Morningside, and there we were able to have also clay courts and a building before we just had a shack and cold showers at 89th Street.
Oh gosh.
And we were there we were actually there in Forest Hills. We incorporated in 1902, moved up to 117th Street, but then we were growing so quickly and there was a waiting list, so in 1908 we moved up to 238th Street at Broadway, and got 2 city blocks there, and that was the first time we had grass courts. We kept the courts at Columbia because we played with the Columbia team, and it was the members were, many of them lived in Manhattan, so we had 2 locations.
Okay.
And then in 1911 at 238th Street, which is in the Bronx, not in Manhattan,
Okay.
we had a Davis Cup round, and there we had about 3,000 people, and the people that ran the club said they really wanted to have big tournaments, and that really put the idea in their head that they could do it successfully with the U.S. and LTA at the time. And so they started looking for land, and we found land in, we looked in the 5 boroughs, we looked in New Jersey, Long Island, did a big search, had about 53 possibilities, narrowed it down to 3, and then the one that was chosen was
Nice to have like a tennis club right there, in that area too. With that mention, then you had even red clay courts back then too, but mostly in the U.S. that I'm kind of familiar, green clay and not the red clay.
had both. Right now we only have 2 red clays left. We took 5 out to build the Junior Olympic pool in the year 2000, an outdoor pool.
Okay.
Well, at least they there have 2 red clay tennis courts. So if anybody wanted to go get kind of practice before the European circuit started, then they could certainly go there and kind of get used to it a little bit, maybe. Some of those that probably have floated through there to play on those to try to get used to the European clay court circuit.
Well, at least you still have the red clay, so I'm sure that there's some of the pros that come through there to want to hit on the red clay to kind of be used to it before they go over to Europe or something.
Right, yeah. Well, the thing with the green clay or the hard shoe is it drains much easier.
Oh, it does.
So that was the court of choice for many people, and of course many people love to come to Forest Hills to play on our grass courts.
Sure.
We now only have 8 grass courts left. We had 23 during the U.S. Open, but when the Open went to clay in 1975, for the last 3 years that it was, we made a lot of the grass courts hard shoe.
Oh, Okay, and then just converting them over to the hard true courts then too. I've had the opportunity to play on grass courts myself too, so that's an experience. Actually, on grass courts, of all things, up in Baker City, Oregon, and then also in Charles. Pretty true bounce with it too, so that was a fun thing to do on grass.
I think I was a little spoiled because I first started in 1971 on it, but many of the visitors that come to the west side, that's the first thing they want to do is play on the grass.
Play on the grass.
Well, of course, the experience to be able to play on grass. So, you YouTubers, be sure if you're liking the interview here, be sure and comment, subscribe, like, and make a comment, and then you podcasters, if you want to, then going to be looking at the racket of the day. You're going to be able to be looking at a racket of the day pretty soon. But if you want to take a look at the racket of the day, then be sure and then be sure to look on my tennis YouTube channel, Tennis Volley Talk, if you want to take a look at the racket that I'll be showing. So for sure, do that. And that be sure and comment, like, subscribe as you do that to the interviews. I do like doing them because that interesting tennis history of how things came about in the tennis world.
That's it. Yeah, I can see that. I want to get to that grass, see what it's like on grass, and stuff. So yeah, it's a fun game on grass too. So with that too, but yeah, and then once you guys did settle in on Forest Hills and getting all the courts there built and done, kind of an amazing thing that nowadays, I mean, to get in there, it was what, a $2,000 down payment and then $75,000, and you're going, holy mackerel, has that raised up a little bit for land now?
It was a good investment.
Yeah, with that too. That's amazing in itself, to have that rich history. Is there still a tennis court there, or I guys put music events on there too for everybody around? Or is there a court still there at the stadium?
There is a tennis court, one center court. When the U.S. Open was here, we had 3 courts there because they had to be rotated because the soil had to resist the plague for 2 weeks. But when we went to clay, we put on in 1975 we put one. After the U.S. Open left in 1978, we had the WCT World Championship Tennis. Lamar Hunt brought in a tournament to Forest Hills, and we had an invitational for 2 years, and then we had a tournament of champions through 1990. The last year he had it in 1990, he wanted a hard surface DecoTurf tournament as a warm-up to the Open. He put it the week before the U.S. Open. And because of that, Lamar Hunt converted the stadium court and also 3 side courts to DecoTurf. So for that reason, the stadium court is now DecoTurf. And we've had concerts there since 1960s.
Well, that with Lamar Hunt coming in with the World Team Tennis at that time, with that, and then converting those courts, the stadium court, but at least have a court that you can still play on in the stadium court, which really is probably would be a fun thing to get the feel of playing in a stadium and stuff. So yeah, that would be a neat little tennis there.
Music festivals, and but the concerts, they'll just either put portable seats on the tent. For young people, they'll be standing, and so they can dance. court, and we have to restore it all here again. But the tennis courts are, it is now still a hard surface court. In 2016, we had World Team Tennis there, and so we painted it the colors of World Team Tennis.
Oh, that must have been a gem to have the different colors of the court for team tennis. Oh, that must have been cool.
But then we had Davis Cup, South Africa versus Venezuela in 2022, and so we painted it. Now it's the Indian Wells Cup, the green and blue.
Yeah.
And we are expected to have, we're hosting UTS this August.
Okay.
They're renovating the court again, so it'll be state of the art.
No, yeah, that UTS is a very interesting format. I really like that format for TV because it's a fast pace and it doesn't last that long, but yet I really like that aspect of it. And then also the cards that you can play with the UTS. So many other people they're such into, and I've talked to people myself that are so into tennis and like all 15 games, 6 games or whatever. It's really amazing to me how close matches are nowadays. If you really look at it, and somebody winning a match can win a match with 168 points to 162. Like an 8-point difference of total points.
That's right.
And it ends up being like 7-5 in the 5th set or 3rd set or 4th, whatever. And it's so amazing that way that format kind of does with the points. And if you get out of your head regular tennis and go into that and just go with points, it really does make it really a fun aspect and format.
Which it really does. Like I was mentioning to her about how close matches can go with a 3-set match or a 5-set match. You can have in a 3-set match, the person who wins the match can have total points, usually so close that you can have probably 80 or 87 or 86 points to 80, 6-point difference, and then somebody wins the 3rd set, but the total points are so close that people just don't realize, that there could be a 7-5 3rd set and the person who won, but yet they had the more points, but how close those points were in those 3 sets with total points. And that Ultimate Tennis Showdown does, and gives you the fast pace, the 4 quarters, and really, really a nice, cool format, and doesn't last that long, but it's a fun format with the cards that they play with the Ultimate Tennis Showdown.
For the UTS.
Yes. Maybe you'll come to New York in late August, before the Open.
Yeah, that would be on my bucket list. that is a bucket list thing to come see their that area and everything too. But also with the World Team Tennis, they had in where I lived in Tulsa, Oklahoma, is where I grew up for many years too. But at the World Team Tennis that came through shortly after, Billie Jean King played Bobby Riggs, and so is that I was up in the bleachers, and I ended up getting. Chris Evert was down in the court, and she's being interviewed, so I took a picture and tell who it is, Chris Evert, being interviewed, and then all of a sudden, guess who appears at that World Team Tennis? Riggs with his sugar daddy coat on. And I have a picture that I took of him looking at my camera with his sugar coat on. So I kind of feel privileged that I have that, and I've also taken a picture of Billie Jean. She retired, and she had an exhibition in, of all things, Enid, Oklahoma, of all things, somewhere just out of the realm. Enid, Oklahoma had an exhibition with Billie Jean King. I'm going, okay, I'm going to go there.
In which I did. and that was probably somewhere about 80, right around about 84, 83, 4, something like that. 5, right in that area, 83, 4, 5, or 6 is when she retired. And then they had that exhibition, and she was playing Carlene Serguzzo Bassett. Carlene Bassett Serguzzo, which is she married to one of the Robert Serguzzo was one of the American doubles, one of the best with Ken Flack during the American Davis Cups back then, doubles players, and they were really good, kept winning a lot too. So yeah, that was really fun too. And then being able to go to that, and it was a fun little thing to go see, and it was very accessible back then. Like when she was playing, and just being there was a privilege to be able to see her play, and right after, but she still had the game, and she was still playing really good at the time.
So great. So I've had the up, and what an opportunity to be able to be that close up to somebody at the time when they just retired and still were playing good too, and everything. That was fun in itself. But I've had opportunities to be able to do that over the years. I like getting pictures like I have, and everything, but this is just and then also, then how on earth were you one of the instigators, or the Westside Tennis Club, of getting the Bud Collins library, or getting all the Bud Collins stuff? That must have been like a kid in a candy store going through all of that memorabilia and seeing such a plethora of tennis stuff that he had over his lifetime.
Yes, that came just unexpectedly to us. Well, what happened was in 2015, I went to Newport and joined Tennis Collectors at an annual meeting there, and that's a group of, they're mostly collectors and dealers of have beautiful tennis collections, and then there's guys, and we were trying to grow the reference library with some books, but we thought we wanted to get the American Lawn Tennis, the Racquet magazine, try to have a complete collection. And with my co-chair Alan Edelman, with the archives committee, we were talking about it, and we were trying to get whatever we could, and it was let's join TCA. And so we went up there and started telling people what we were doing at Westside, and they came to Westside the following year for their meeting, and which was the first time TCA had met in Forest Hills. And we were just talking about it, and then in 2017, we were in the Philadelphia area with the Meridian Cricket Club at the Germantown Cricket, and the curator from the museum, Nicole Markham, the Hall of Fame Museum, was there, and she said they were giving, and that Westside and Germantown would get first priority. And so we actually were able to get a lot of publications to see if they wanted Bud Collins tennis. And the Hall of Fame had most of the books, and Wimbledon also had most of the books. And so then Doug Stark, who was the director of the Hall of Fame at the time, was president there, and they recommended Westside Tennis Club to Anita. So one day, April of 2019, I had an email on my computer. Hello, I'm Anita Ruthling Clausen, Bud's widow. And
now that must have been a pleasant surprise, getting an email from Bud Collins' widow. Unbelievable to actually have that come through on the email, and with her excitement, I'm sure, to have his widow explain what she wanted to do with the collection. But yeah, be sure if you like this, and be sure to subscribe, comment, like, and with the tennis YouTube, if you like the interviews, please let me know. Please comment. And then you podcasters, if you want to, you're going to be seeing the racket of the day that I'll be showing, or you'll be listening to it. And if you want to take a look, be sure and go to my tennis YouTube channel, Tennis Volley Talk, and take a look at the racket on that. And then like, subscribe, make a comment, and please let me know what you think of the interviews, because it just gives you more of a richer tennis history of tennis venues within the U.S.
And she told me that this is what she had, and she wanted to know if Westside was interested. And she sent the PDF, a list of the documents that she had herself cataloged, magazines, books, all sorts of programs. What he used to write the encyclopedia.
Sure.
He didn't have, that was first published in the 1980s, so he didn't have the internet.
Yeah.
So I opened this email, and I emailed her right back that day. I said, of course we'd be interested, and she wanted to donate it also. She wasn't looking to sell it. And we started talking, but then that was in 2019, and we would email back and forth. And then she came for the U.S. Open in 2019 and came, and we arranged for her to come. And she saw the club, saw the library, and she decided that she would give it to us. But she was also talking to Australia, to the Australian Open. She was this old, but then in the fall of 2020, she called me up, she emailed me and said, I've decided to give it to Westside.
Oh.
And the only condition was that we kept it together, that we shared it with people, that we answered inquiries, as we always, that's our policy. We don't charge any money for, we get inquiries from around the world just because people have heard of Forest Hills over the years. And so a few of us went up. We looked at having it professionally moved down, but it was expensive. So she said, why don't you just come up here and get some strong guys and come with you, some strong men to come up. So that's what we did. A few of us, the treasurer of the club, his young son was in college, and now he's president of the club, Randy Perkins, and his wife and brother-in-law, and two young guys. We went up there with two minivans that were donated also. We didn't have to rent cars, and we packed up the collection. It took us, we took 60 bankers boxes. She had told me the estimate was 30 to 40 bankers boxes, but we took 60 up, and we brought back 63. And then eventually, one of the young men went up there when he was traveling through Boston and picked up more boxes. So in total, we got 91 bankers boxes, to give you an idea of the size of the collection. It was amazing that when we went up there, when we got there, one of the young men who came with us, he does interviews, and while we started disassembling the collection upstairs, he interviewed Anita for 40 minutes. That was really nice.
And plus, being able, that must have been a really interview as they were packing up his library, to be able to get that, and to be able to be traveling the world. Bud and his wife did, and being a commentator that he was back in the day too, and just an amazing life that he had over the years of tennis. Just an amazing to be able to get a hold of this memorabilia stuff. Just was a wonderful thing for them to be able to get a hold of at the Westside Tennis Club.
Right, sitting in front of the library, and then we packed it up, brought it back to Westside. The indexing of it was done during COVID, so we had the whole library locked because people couldn't use the Westside.
Oh, sure.
That easily. The clubhouse was closed, although the courts were open, so I had 3 volunteers, and we met once a week and got everything indexed. And so it was just, I call it a miracle. It was just so something that would have taken a my bud, and Anita thought he loved Westside, and she decided to give it to us. And so we're thrilled to have it. And she did come and visit in 2 years after that when we raised the banner for Bud under the stadium.
Okay.
And she saw the library, and I sent you a picture of Anita in the library looking at the exhibits. And she's a photographer, so we wanted it to look very nice because she's very artistic. And she was thrilled. And that's where we are with that. With that, we continue to have visitors either in person or through email asking us questions, and we do the best we can with the materials we have.
Oh, absolutely. And that, I mean, like I said, that must have been like a kid in a candy store looking through all that stuff and inventory and everything and go, oh my gosh, wow. Just to be able to see that stuff is amazing. And with myself, with being involved and watching WCT with that, I ended up having a picture with me and Bud Collins at one time. So that was kind of a fun thing, that I have a picture with me and Bud Collins back in the day in '76. So he was there, and John Newcomb was him were the commentators for the WCT showdown with Morgan Guillermo Vilas. So that was a fun match to watch back then. But with that, it just such a rich history of the West Side Tennis Club is just so amazing to hear that of the history that is going on with that. So it is just so wonderful to hear all of that history and to also have a lot of that tennis history. So many people wouldn't really know what that all is, and they'd just much rather throw it away instead of keeping it. So just good that it went to the right place at the right time.
Yes.
Which is good in itself also. But I do so appreciate the time that you gave me to come on and talk about the rich history of the Westside Tennis Club and everything, and just having an insight and so many other different things that are in New York. Not only the Westside Tennis Club, but also there's a tennis club in the 4th floor of Grand Central Station and then plus the Central Court Parks now with all their tennis courts that they have that people play during the summer, which is just kind of general public, get out there and play, on those courts. So that's just,
it's a beautiful thing.
Well, I'm sure it is, and if it's windy, I'm sure the trees kind of block a little bit of it too, so it does help a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So, but
last year, when tennis collectors came back to meet in New York City in Forest Hills, and we went to Staten Island, and we went to a club called Westerly Tennis Club.
Okay.
Founded in 1912, and that was good. One of the first places that tennis was played in the U.S. Could have been Staten Island. There's 3 places that. But we did go out there and visit Westerly Club and the graves of Mary Outerbridge, who brought tennis to Staten Island.
Mm-hmm.
And so there are a lot of interesting places here just in New York. And the tennis players, they didn't play in Grand Central, but they did.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so cool. That is really neat. Yeah, it's just just different things within that area that you didn't know about, hidden gems of tennis courts. Not only that you have the setting of the Westside Tennis Club, but then the club there at the Grand Central Island, or any place that just have that unique kind of stuff with the tennis. It's just amazing, and to know a lot of that stuff. It just has been such a pleasure talking to you, Bea, and having you on my tennis podcast. Dropping. Probably tomorrow I'll be doing the YouTube and then pausing and doing the commentary behind it of what we did. And then you'll be able to see that episode on YouTube tomorrow. Probably it'll be dropping. if you want to take a look at it.
It's been a pleasure talking to you also.
Yeah, and I do thank you very much. If I get to on my bucket list, if I do get to New York, then I will definitely be trying to come by the Westside Tennis Club and looking you up.
Yeah, some rackets so we can play on the grass.
Oh, that would be absolutely wonderful.
That would be kind of wonderful to be able to, and with that, to be able to go there and play on the grass at the Westside Tennis Club and look at the stadium too and all that. That would be really a fun experience to be able to have. So you YouTubers, if you do like the over the phone interview and you did like this, let me know, make a comment, and follow and subscribe, and let me know what you think. And you podcasters, you'll be seeing the racket of the day pretty soon. And you can always go take a look at it on the Tennis Volley Talk on YouTube. So please join and make a comment and follow and subscribe with that on the YouTube on the podcast universe out there.
Yeah. I'll bring my T2000 racket with me and see how I do.
Jimmy Connors won it on. He's the only one with the distinction to have won the Open on 3 surfaces.
That's right. Oh yes, that is correct, and that's just amazing in itself, and everything. That's like one of my hopes is that I get a chance to talk to a tennis pro at one time and interview them, which growing my audience anyway. So doing these kind of calls with the history of tennis, that is kind of grows the followers, but exponentially that would grow a follower if I could get a tennis pro to get a hold of me and do an interview or something. So heads up, happen to be mentioning Tennis Volley Talk to any of them, just be sure and throw that out there to them.
I will.
So number, so you can give it to them.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Plenty, please. If you're talking to any tennis pros, mention me, because that would be just growing my followers in my second year that I'm in this. But I've been thoroughly enjoying everything I do with this. I so appreciate your time taking out of your busy schedule to talk to me, being on my tennis podcast. I thank you so much, Bea, for joining me.
No, thank you for the opportunity.
All right. Well, you have a great day out there, and
bye-bye.
Bye-bye. And there you have it, the interview of Bea Hunt, the historian of the Westside Tennis Club in Forest Hills, New York.
So that was it. Today, now what I'm going to be doing here is I'm going to be showing you a racket here. Yes, it's actually a Wilson racket. It's Speed Flex Fiber Face, and the pro that was actually endorsed it is Mary Hardwick. She was actually an English from England that actually promoted the Wilson. They approached her, and then they put their name to it, and then they make mini rackets, and you could play with that racket and get a racket that was endorsed by her. She was and lived up until I think it was 2000, in the 2000s, 2001, I think. But she lived through that, and then through that time being endorsed. This racket here happens to be probably in with her playing days. She played in the 40s, 50s, early 50s, and this racket here came about probably in around about the in the 50s, 40s, 50s, in that era. With the Mary Hardwick, it's a Wilson racket, of course. Then Wilson there, There we go, Wilson. It's kind of a white top of the half of the here with that slight crack on it, but that's okay. We don't mind that. But still strung with everything. That's the old nylon strings that they probably strung, with the nylon string is what it is back then. And like I said, it's probably in the 40s, 50s, in that era for Wilson. Mary Hardwick, very good tennis player. She had singles and doubles that she played over her years in playing in tennis, and very good, very good. And the blue throat of the racket here, nice color of the blue with that, made in the USA, of course. So yeah, if you podcasters, if you want to take a look at this racket, then be sure and go to my YouTube channel, Tennis Volley Talk. Take a look at it and subscribe, make a comment, and be sure and let me know. And then you YouTubers, you get to see the racket here. Still pretty sturdy racket. The ting of the strings are still pretty tight too. So very good. Still a very good racket. 4 1/4 in the grip size. So that's a pretty good. A little bit small for me, but it's okay. But very nice racket all the way around for this era of a racket. So thank you with that. And so I do thank you again for joining me on this Tennis Volley Talk on episode 69. And everybody getting out and start and keep playing this week. It's getting really nice here also, and playing outside a little bit more. So everybody enjoy this next week of tennis, and everybody have a good week.